How's it going, everybody? I want to do a follow-up on the story I did from a few days ago about the NGO ship and its signal being manipulated, because we do have an update on this bigger story. But a quick recap. A few days ago, I spoke with an expert on GPS and AIS systems. So this is basically, it's kind of like a location system for ships. They broadcast a signal and then you can track them in real time on the internet. Now, a signal had appeared showing one of these NGO ships, the Open Arms, just off the coast of Libya, about 1 mile, which is not international waters. This is Libyan territory. And a lot of people on the right are accusing these NGO ships of essentially operating as ferry services, going to the shore, picking up people, and then bringing them to Europe. So I spoke with this expert, we looked at the data, and apparently this signal just off the coast of Libya, about 1 mile, was a spoof. It very much looks like someone is manipulating the data to make it look like this ship was operating in Libyan waters. But there is an update. For the sake of this video, I want to clarify one thing. We're talking about what's called the Central Mediterranean route. And as it pertains to the refugee and migrant crisis, there's the Eastern Mediterranean route, the Western Mediterranean route, and the Central Mediterranean route. And a lot of media companies, news outlets, when they write about this, they say refugees instead of migrants, because they sort of conflate the two issues, even though they're not the same thing. But I'm going to come back to that. First, I want to talk about the latest news. The Italian government has confiscated one of these NGO ships called the EU Venta. Forgive me if I'm pronouncing it wrong. And the reason for this is that they claim they have evidence that human traffickers are towing migrants to this ship, where they then board, and the human traffickers bring the dinghies back to shore. So these dinghies are little boats that are unsuitable for the trip from Libya to Italy. And this is why we're hearing about so many people dying in the Mediterranean, because human traffickers are putting them on boats that often can't make it. Now, there have been a few investigations into NGOs for a while now, because, like I said, many people believe they're operating as a ferry service. In the Sicilian town of Trapani, there is the chief prosecutor, Ambrogio Cartosio, who said that there have been no arrests made pertaining to the EU Venta, but inquiries are ongoing. He's quoted as saying, "We have evidence of encounters between traffickers who escorted illegal immigrants to the EU Venta and members of that boat's crew." But he also added that there was no evidence that charity members received any money from the traffickers. Prosecutors are said to have gathered evidence from an undercover police officer working on another boat, along with evidence from workers on Save the Children's boat, Vos Hestia. And there are a lot of other independent organizations and smaller news outlets, and of course right-wing organizations, that have been making these claims and showing various data points saying this is what the NGOs do. They go to the coast of Libya, meet with the human traffickers, pick people up, and then ferry them back to Italy. But I will keep my eyes on the story, and if there's any more, I will have an update for you. But I want to move on to something broader. It's the idea of a pull factor, that not only are these NGO ships ferrying people from Libya to Italy, but that they're providing an incentive to these people to make this trip. They're providing an incentive to these human traffickers. The people believe that if they just get into international waters, they can be ferried safely to Italy. Or at least in the instance of these accusations, the human traffickers will actually tow them to the NGO ships to be taken safely to Italy. And it's not just right-wing individuals who believe this. There are EU officials, as well as the European Border and Coast Guard Agency, often called Frontex. They have said that they believe there is an incentive, there is a pull factor. Now, according to Frontex, by operating so close to the Libyan shores, these NGOs are incentivizing human traffickers to use flimsier boats, less fuel, supply less food, and in some cases, actually remove the engines from these ships, so that there's literally no way the migrants could make it unless the NGOs come and pick them up. In a quote to Reuters, the head of Frontex said, "We have to strike the right balance between saving lives and making sure our actions don't fuel a criminal business by encouraging criminals to adapt their modus operandi to the fact that there will be vessels approaching Libya." He also said that nearly half of rescue operations are being carried out by NGOs, making it much harder for them to control what's going on. But keep in mind what I said before about the idea of the pull factor. Some people do dispute this. They believe that the migrants will come no matter the risks. Now, earlier I made reference to the idea that many people, especially in media, keep calling this a refugee rescue mission, or saying that this is part of the refugee crisis. And this instills an idea, an image in people's minds of people fleeing war-torn countries, of families on boats trying to get away from chaos. And I think this has a lot to do with the Syrian civil war. But they don't understand that the situation has changed, and what's going on with Libya and Italy in the central Mediterranean route is a bit different. So first, let's look at what a refugee actually is in international law. According to the 1951 UN Convention relating to the state of refugees, the term refugee shall apply to any person who, owing to well-founded fear of being persecuted for reasons of race, religion, nationality, membership of a particular social group or political opinion, is outside the country of his nationality and is unable or, owing to such fear, unwilling to avail himself of the protections of that country. Now, according to the UNHCR, majority of the people coming from Libya to Italy are from sub-Saharan Africa, and less than 5% will be recognized as refugees. Many of the people coming through the central Mediterranean route will cite war, conflict, politics, joblessness, and poverty as their reason for leaving their homes, but only a small minority will actually be recognized as refugees. But it isn't a one-size-fits-all. People gave multiple reasons as to why they were leaving, and although economic opportunity was the primary reason at around 70%, many people did say that security and oppression were factors. So again, it's important to draw that distinction that there is a migrant crisis and a refugee crisis, and they are two different things. Most of the Syrian refugees do not come through the central Mediterranean route through Libya. They come from Turkey to Greece. And the people that are coming from Africa through Libya into Italy predominantly come for economic reasons. Again, less than 5% are actually recognized as refugees. So then my question to the media is, why do so many news outlets keep calling this refugee rescue missions or the refugee crisis? Is it because they don't actually know what's going on? They're not up to date on the latest reports from the UNHCR? I guess I have to question a lot of these reporters who repeatedly just say refugee over and over again. When we talk about what Lauren Southern and Defend Europe wanted to do, or what they did back a few months ago, repeatedly in the media we say that Lauren Southern was trying to kill refugees or block a refugee rescue mission. And again, this instills an idea in people that there are families fleeing conflict. But that's not the case. These are people who have decided, usually, for economic reasons, they wanted to come to Europe. And there is a big difference. We can still care about the lives of those who are crossing the Mediterranean regardless of where they come from. I certainly don't want to make it seem like we value the lives of these individuals any less. But you can draw sympathy and you push people into the wrong idea of what's going on by saying refugee. It's fine, call them migrants. And we can still say we should protect the lives of those who are trying to make this crossing. Now, I'm not here to argue whether or not we should allow people into Europe or not. I'm not European. So, that's not what I'm here to do. I just think that if we really want to solve the problems, we have to be honest about what those problems are. And one of the big issues is trust. When the media repeatedly says this is a refugee crisis, people on the right say, but it's not. These are migrants. And this is the UNHCR saying that they're migrants. Why is the media getting this wrong? And it's issues like this, not just this single issue, that make people distrust the media because they're mischaracterizing what's going on either through ignorance, apathy, or just malice. Maybe it's an ends justifies the means kind of thing. People believe, you know what, we'll call them refugees and get people more interested in saving these people. It's a really complicated situation. Laws are being broken on all sides, it appears. And I'm not here to pass moral judgment and tell you who's right. All I want to do is make sure that you know as much as possible about what is going on. So here's what we can do. For now, we'll keep the conversation going in the comments. Let me know what you think. Click the like button if you like the video. If there are any updates on the story about the Iuventa being confiscated, I'll do a video and let you know. I'll also have a link to the UNHCR report in the description. So again, comment and let me know what you think. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Timcast. Make sure you go to timcast.com/donate if you want to support the work that I do. Give whatever you'd like or give nothing at all. My videos will always be free and available every day at 4 p.m. Stay tuned, and I will see you tomorrow.